Cool.
Hello! And welcome to the Horror Herald, starring me and him and you. Welcome.
God, it's so hot.
So, hi. If you couldn't tell by the opening sketch, we are going to be reviewing Halloween Ends.
It's ending.
Yes,
it ended.
very anticipated for this film.
Yeah.
We watched it a while back. We haven't watched it a week ago.
Less than a week ago.
Oh wow!
I don't
It
know.
feels like it's been ages, but I guess it has been. We wanted to watch this film a second time, but I couldn't do it because I was pretty busy, and
and I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, Louis couldn't be bothered. But and we watched the movie, and we'll get to it. We won't get too opinionated on it now.
Right.
It's kind of fun because we're in the spooky season. We've dressed up. I'm here, got the Michael Myers get up, and Louis,
I'm Corey.
and we won't say much more about his character because that would be very spoilery. But he's Corey.
I'm Corey.
Corey Cunningham.
Corey Cunningham.
And just let you know, this will be a spoiler review.
Right.
But we are doing Halloween Ends, which is great and awesome. We've been waiting a while to do this. Now, normally I would go and ask you to scan the QR code for our sponsor. As you can see, we don't have a QR code this week. Not because I didn't want to do a QR code this week. I mean, our sponsor didn't want to do a QR code this week.
Of course.
I just I had a bit of a stressful week, so I haven't been able to do it. But don't stress.
I won't.
Don't stress at all.
Oh.
Right now, I'm going to reveal what it is because by the time this will be released, I would have made something. Now, I don't even have a name, but Louis, you're going to reveal the name of it right now.
Oh my God, it's right here.
That's the website. And this is the QR code. It's going to cover, it's not going to be directly in frame with my hands, but here it is. There it is.
There it is.
Enjoy it. There it is. Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Wow, look at that.
It's going to be really cool.
Wow, isn't that really
And
cool?
that's our sponsor. And we're so thankful for that.
That is so cool.
That is the best thing.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's that. Now, we do want to quickly get through the news because I think we're going to have this be a pretty long review for Halloween Ends. We don't know, but it probably will be.
We don't want to overdo it, but we don't want to underdo it.
Yeah. So, because it is a big film. So we're just going to get through the news.
Right.
The news doesn't mean much to me. I mean, it normally does on the show, but like the stuff that we're going to be talking about, besides one thing.
Let's just get through it, baby.
Yeah, let's get through it. So, this week's horror news. Here we go. Okay, The Conjuring 4. Conjuring 4 finds screenwriter. This is probably the coolest news.
Best news.
Louis already knows this.
I love Conjuring.
Conjuring, great universe.
Got me into horror, kinda.
Yeah, that's
James
cool.
Bond is my favorite horror guy.
That is very cool.
Fellow Australian.
Yeah, Australian, mate. Yeah, pretty good. So yeah, The Conjuring. So reports that The Conjuring 2 and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the script. What? What is this? I think the writer.
Same writer. I think it's just the same writer.
Same writer, David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long name, but pretty cool name. Has been tapped to pen the new entry. So he's going to be doing the new Conjuring 4. I think he must have written some of the other ones as well.
I think he's doing Aquaman 2 as well. But yeah, I think he's just the same old writer.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And James Wan, as per usual, is going to produce and
probably not direct.
I'm not sure. Yeah, and Peter Safran, not sure who that is, but I think he's been doing other stuff for The Conjuring before, so he's going to be attached to that as well. But yeah, and we haven't got confirmed whether Ed Lorraine or
I assume
Ed or Lorraine Warren is coming back, but it's assumed they will be.
I assume
they should be. And yeah, it's cool. Can't wait. We saw the third one together, and I know I've seen the other two. Sadly, those are the only ones I've seen.
All of them.
I'm a fake fan.
I'm from the beginning, but from close to the beginning, I've been watching it.
Yeah, but that's gonna be awesome, and I'm sure we'll be in the cinema watching 4 and maybe reviewing
in 2040.
In 2040, that'd be fun. All right, the next news little segment. The Duffer Brothers finds writer for the Netflix Death Note series.
they're not writing it.
No, I think they made a production company. So we talked about this earlier.
They're just producing it.
They made I think it was Upside Down Productions or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was called.
Yeah.
But we talked about this on another episode, how they are making their own kind of production company where they're going to be doing weird and wacky stories and adaptations from media.
And we all know Death Note is a weird and wacky story.
You betcha.
Do you know anything about Death Note?
I have no idea. I know
I've seen
it's
a
a
bit of
book
Death
where
Note.
you write people's names in it, and
They die.
And they die. That's all I know.
Do you know who that is?
That is the main two
That's
characters.
L, and that's Light.
Okay, cool.
They both L names.
L.
Leo and Louis.
Whoa, that's pretty good.
I'm L.
Guaranteed to watch it. But yeah, so basically it's been pinned. The writer, the writer for it is Halaya. I can't pronounce this correctly. I apologize. Hala Abdul Magud. I'm so sorry. I butchered your name horribly. But and we'll write the series, and it's currently at the works on Netflix. And it's based off a manga series,
anime,
and speaks this writer speaks Japanese apparently,
right?
So that's pretty good. And it was a writing consultant on the adaptation of The Talesman. I don't know what that is, but it's cool, and it's gonna be awesome. And I don't know if I'm gonna watch it, but it's definitely interesting.
I'll give it a gander.
So yeah,
the live action movie with Willem Dafoe was pretty bad, but you know what?
Well, if Willem Dafoe is in it, how can it be bad?
He plays the demon. Anyway,
the demon.
Besides the point.
Anyway, that's cool. And the next thing, I don't think Louis is going to be interested about this, but who cares? You might be, if you are a fan of this book series. Live-action Goosebumps series signed several new cast members.
Oh, Rachel Harris. From the Lucifer and The Office.
Lucifer. Oh, yeah. Is she also from... What is she? I have to search this up.
She's
who is she?
Angela's sister in the last episode.
Okay, I think she's also in Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies.
Yeah, she is.
So she plays the mom in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. That's who I know. Yeah, so she's
Lucifer.
signed. She's on. So that's There's
Rachel Harris.
There's gonna be Anna Yi Puig. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing that right. Miles McKenna, Will Price, Zach Morris, and Isa Briones. Unfortunately, I don't know any of those names. I really should have done better research. But Rachel Harris, Diary of a Wimpy Kid fame.
Lucifer fame, more famously,
yeah.
I'd say.
Wow, I don't know. Those Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies were like the shit. But it's that's exciting. And I have a bunch of the books at home.
Never read, never
I've read
watched.
like one of them. Don't remember which one though. I saw the movie with Jack Black, which was okay. Didn't see the sequel.
Nope.
But it's a fun. I don't know if this is going to be darker than it usually is, but it is a Disney Plus show, so
it's going to be censored like they censored Bluey.
Yeah, they censored Bluey.
I'll tell you about it after.
What?
Yeah.
How can? What did Bluey do?
I'll tell you about it after. I'll tell you about it.
Okay, we'll talk about this after. Okay, yeah. But yeah. That's that. I think I might watch an episode of something. I don't know. I mean, I like Tales of the Crypt, so if it's something similar like that, then who knows? Yeah, that's our news segment. It was a bit fast, a bit brief, but that's because we have to get to. That's right. Halloween ends tonight.
Snap.
Ooh, we've changed angles. We've changed angles.
It's so hot in this Corey outfit.
Yes, so this is Corey.
I'm Corey.
And I got the bad boy jacket.
I'm the bad boy of karate.
Bad boy of karate. All right, here we are. The moment you've been waiting for. Our Halloween Ends review. I know you've been waiting all these years for us.
These years.
Before we start this, I just want to have a little bit of context, a little bit of a build-up to feel emotional with this. We were there since the beginning.
Since 2018.
18. I mean, I remember getting to the franchise around 2017. You probably got around close to that as well, maybe a little bit later. But I remember there was like a certain YouTuber that I listened to called Dave McRae. Shout out to you. Right. That I got into the Halloween franchise in 2017, and then he started like doing like videos on it just being announced. And the moment it was announced, I was like watching the videos. I've been watching his videos up until this, this movie. Yeah. So I've been there for the whole trilogy with him, been there with the boys, and not with him, but I've been really on this, excited for it, and we've been every movie came out, we sat down in cinemas, we watched it. 2018 was awesome, and we sat there for Kills on Halloween.
We sat through Kills.
We sat through Kills, and now we sat and watched this movie, and it's been great, and it's been enjoyable.
Did we do a review for Kills?
We didn't do a review for Kills, but we can give it kind of semi one with the franchise ranking coming up soon. But we also watched it with our mate Freddie. He was there for all three as well. So shout out to you, Freddie. Shout out to you, Freddie. So now here we are. And was it worth it? Was this whole journey fantastic?
To the friends we made along the way, yes. For the movies, no.
It wasn't fantastic. We're gonna quickly talk about it. General feelings, and then we'll get into the spoilers.
Yeah. When I first stepped out of the theater, I hated it. When I looked the next day, hated it. The third day, thought it was okay. Next day, hated it more. And then today, thought it was just okay.
Yeah, I came out
Nice.
much. Thanks, man. But no, for me, I'm like a massive Halloween fan. So it was weird because I sat in the cinema, I watched this movie. I was excited. I was loving certain aspects of it, but while the actual watching, like the movie experience of it, sitting down and actually watching it, I was disappointed basically throughout. Really, not for like the first act, but when this whole story, the spoilers, was basically around one certain character, I did not feel. I didn't feel super great about it, and the ending wasn't a fitting conclusion to the franchise, basically, and to this trilogy. So I did come out a bit disappointed, but over time, because I haven't seen it since, I started to like it more than I did after the theater experience. Like I started going like, oh my god, that some ideas are actually really kind of cool. And I think as an individual experience, I like not really keeping in mind that this is part of a trilogy, I may enjoy it more. But we're talking more about this in our review. But basically, we both kind of feel a bit disappointed.
Hate it. No, it's fine.
But yeah. Now let's get into the spoiler review because there's some good things about it and some not so great things. But we'll get to it. So spoiler review. Should we start with the positives or negatives?
We usually start with positives.
We always do positives. I should never. Why am I
do you
always asking
ask
this
me?
question? We always do the same thing.
We always do positive.
All right, so positives first because I do think there's some positives to this film. I don't completely hate it. It's not the worst Halloween film as people say it is.
No,
but
it's not.
let's talk about it. So positives. I'd like you to start off with the positive, Louis.
One word. Score.
Score. Yeah.
Well, the score, I don't remember anything about the score. I don't remember anything about this score, but what I wrote was score.
Score, yeah. I mean, I like the score as well. I listened to it separately afterwards, and I will say it doesn't stand out too much in the movie. Nope. Like the Halloween theme, when the title sequence is happening, that stands out, obviously. And then, there was like a certain section in the junkyard where I kind of heard kind of the soundtrack, and it sounded like very kind of Christine-esque, which is kind of what the movie is.
Never seen that movie.
And when listening to the actual soundtrack, and I guess it's not too bad that it's subtle, but when listening to it, it really felt like it wasn't necessarily like a super Halloween soundtrack, but it sounded like it was like an ode to John Carpenter. Sure, and it was kind of like the soundtrack was kind of, I know it was done by John Carpenter and Cody Carpenter and other people as well, Daniel Davies, but yeah, I think the score was good. I think I agree with you there. I think it was good because it always is good. And there were certain sections, maybe only two, that it did pop out to me. But yeah,
I
think
remember anything about the score.
Then why do you say it was good?
Because I don't hate it.
I think it's good, but I will say it doesn't stand out as much as 2018 and Kills.
No.
But I still think it's good.
Sure.
I still think they gave it a solid
go.
It a
good try.
The soundtrack, if you listen to it on the album, is pretty good, but... Yeah.
Shut up, car. Anyway, continue.
Car. All right, I'll go in with my positives. We're starting with some kind of like smaller ones, and then maybe we'll get into more meaty ones. I think this movie balanced pretty well, referencing the 78 original, but not making it too cheesy.
Sure.
So, for example, like at the start, they have the 1982 Thin, when, in the 1978 movie, there was the old The Thin. They were watching that. And I think that was kind of cool. That was cool. I kind of liked... how there was cool kind of like callback shots of Laurie looking down and there's like Corey in the bushes and disappears, and I didn't feel that was too cheesy to me. Like I'm sure some people will find that cheesy, but to me I didn't find that too cheesy. You found that cheesy? Really? I didn't. I mean the context.
No,
I guess
I found it kind of cheesy when he steps out behind her.
Okay, I mean I thought fine. Some of the coloring as well, like how it's like kind of blue in the house, like it was in '78. I thought that was a cool little callback. I think. There were certain shots that I can't super recall, but it, I mean, I did kind of like the, the going up the steps bit. Right. That was kind of a callback to '78. Sure, the whole context around it isn't the best, but I mean, I don't mind it as much. But I think this film did well compared to some of the earlier films in this trilogy. Was that they balanced the references to what was before, but not making it too cheesy, not making it too like. So many jam-packed references. Oh, did you notice that's a reference to Halloween 4, Halloween 3, or whatever like that? Right. This felt like that. This movie felt like it took parts from other franchises, or took references from other franchises. Sorry, took parts from other films, or like made references to other parts of the films, but it wasn't super standout. It wasn't like, this is, But I think this did what is it called? Easter eggs better than the other two films.
Right.
I went on a bit of a rant there.
No, that's
Sorry.
good. I agree.
But I think that was good. Another positive from you?
I wrote a positive, but I don't agree with it, so I'll go to the next one.
Damn, this isn't going to be good, isn't it? No.
I wrote Corey's character at the start was a good development of a character and good opening revealing the new character. I thought for as rushed of an introduction of this character was, I thought the beginning was good. I don't want this as a beginning to my Halloween movie, but if I got it, it's good. You know, I enjoyed his introduction. I enjoyed his character. I felt the stakes. I felt like, oh shit, he killed a kid. You know, like the cop from Die Hard, he killed a kid. I was like, bam, this is like intense, and I'm curious about where this goes. So it had good beginnings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna connect this to a positive that I feel. I don't think you're gonna agree with me.
Okay.
Because we talked about this kind of earlier, but I think that actually I think you might. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Corey as a character, because there's so much put on him in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think we both can agree that we wish there wasn't so much put on Corey.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I don't know if Louis agrees, but I thought the acting, and I think this actor that we had, forgot his name, gave it all.
Yeah, he gave it all. Yeah,
with the character that he had, and I think he did a
stuff he
fantastic job. I forgot the actor's name. I'm going to try to just quickly get it up.
I think he did amazing for the writing.
So
and
Rowan
the
Campbell. I think Rowan Campbell really gave it great, all of his efforts, and I think because of that, I did like his character at the beginning, and to a degree, I liked his character basically for half of this film, and I think his performance was fantastic. Even with some cheesy bits at the start, there were parts of the opening scene that's like, oh, that's a bit cheesy, but he kind of pulled it off either way, and I think with so much that was put on him, he did a great performance, and I think. I also kind of like that opening because we're on the topic of opening. I also agree with you that I think that opening. I know it's probably not exactly what you wanted, but I think it was kind of cool and effective, and definitely got me like going like, oh, whoa, what's this film going to be about?
Yeah.
And I didn't mind the opening too much because it felt very kind of referencing to also to 78. You know, with that shot of him with the knife. Yeah. At the top, there were parts of like where you have to suspend some of your disbelief, but I thought that was I agree with you. Corey's a cool character, at least for me, for about 50% of the film, and I think the actor was one of the main reasons for that. So I think that's good. I kind of went forward talk there. Do you want to do another one, or should I do one? I'm happy to do one. Do one.
You can just do one.
Yeah, cool. So another positive of mine. Sorry about this. I was just trying to find it. I really like Laurie in this movie. I think for the most part, I really like Laurie. I think that. When we were going this movie, I think a big concern for us is that we were like, are we just going to get another 2018? Like, I know we probably needed it. I know that you're probably like, oh, well, this is the final one. She has to be badass and do a fight. But for me, I appreciate that we got a more, like a Laurie that's kind of forgiven herself, is trying to move on. I know what you're thinking, that like maybe that isn't super realistic with her character from the rest of the trilogy, but I think it's good. Like, I think that's...
Was it... I thought it was really good. I feel like this character could have been an amazing addition to this movie if the whole time wasn't thinking of like, well, this character wouldn't be like this right now.
Laurie?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't agree.
Halloween Kills did not set up for this character.
But this is 4 years. I mean, I know 4 years probably not much
Halloween
does change.
Kills ended off with Laurie looking out, going like, I'm going to find you, Michael, and Michael surviving the end of the movie.
Okay.
And this movie, she's like...
Let me just get to
Michael's out there.
Yeah. I don't agree. I feel like in 4 years, when we haven't seen Michael, like if this was the next year or like the more like just a continuation like later that year, sure. But she's had 3 years basically of going that
40 years of her life preparing for Michael.
Yes, I get that. But I get that. But can I just talk about like what I like about the character at least is that yes. You maybe have to go like, oh well, if she's had 40 years of doing that, but she's lost so much just now. I mean, she's lost her daughter. She knows 40 years. She knows that like, actually, I can't make an argument against that. Basically, I'll just talk about why I like this character now. Is that I like seeing this kind of Laurie because we've seen her be badass in 2018, not badass, but we've seen her being like angry in 2018 and in Kills, and I think it's nice to see Laurie being like a grandmother who's trying to care for Allison and is making pumpkin pies, and sure, maybe I wouldn't believe that she'd be so into the Halloween season, because that's just probably not going to happen. But I like her going. I kind of like this, that we have at least some character progression than what we got in 2018.
Yeah,
I like that she's now a grandmother. She's obviously caring. She still feels a lot of probably trauma from what's happened, and I think there's parts of that there's been people who throughout the movie there's a bunch of Haddonfield people who go up to her and go, oh, damn you, Laurie, or whatever like that, for provoking him, and she has to feel the kind of the trauma of that. And I don't hate that angle, and I might get to that later, but I like that we get a new Laurie, and I like how that she's just like through this movie that she's trying to act like this mentor to Corey. She's trying to go like, you don't have to go down this dark path. She wants what's best for people, and she sees that, for example, she can see that Corey is like an outcast, like how she was an outcast. The freak and the
psycho and the freak.
Psycho and the freak, and she can see parts of that in Corey, and I like how she's playing as this kind of mental character who can probably tell that he can either go a dark way, down a dark route, like kind of how she did in 2018, where she kind of went down a dark route and just was all about, it's not the same thing, but I like how she's trying to look into the good in people and trying to make sure that like Corey does become good. And I like how she's playing that kind of mental character. I will say towards the end, she sometimes, like, I don't know about, I don't know. It's hard to talk about the ending, because the ending just feels like such a different thing from what the rest of the movie is, but we'll get to that probably. But I like a new Laurie, a Laurie that I actually think is funny. It's kind of has great screen presence. I like how we don't have the same thing as 2018, because that would have just exhausted me. I'm happy that we have kind of this mentor Laurie who's trying to look into the good in people. And sure, you may agree that you may not agree that that's like her character in the trilogy, but I think it does. I actually do.
I enjoy the presence of this Laurie, and I really wish it was the whole time. I wasn't just like, Michael is still out there. So I really wish that like she knew Michael was out there, yet she never did anything about it on the night of Halloween. You think she would do some preparations of maybe, but you know what? I just want you to be happy about that. So I'm happy that you like this type of Corey. You can have that.
Corey, I'm talking about.
Not Corey, fucking Laurie. That's her name. Like, okay. It's not my biggest gripe with the movie.
Okay, I'm just saying that I do think I actually think it's a good thing. I'm not. That's not just me going like, oh, I'm trying to look into the little good things. I actually think that's a good part of this movie.
Yeah, I feel like Laurie is a good part of this movie. For me, doesn't feel connected to Halloween Kills, but I didn't like that movie anyway, so I don't mind that it doesn't not connected.
I guess, but I still think that maybe she had that time to prepare for the next 2 years or whatever like that. But I'm happy that we got this. I think I would rather have this than just a logical she's gonna be, still trying to hunt Michael Myers.
No, yeah, I just wish just got more context in the life in between, but
I don't. But that's okay. Yeah. If you don't notice, we're probably going to argue a lot during this review. But that's okay. What's another positive? If you have another positive,
I have another positive. Allison feeling like a character of her own and have her own goals was good, because I feel like in the previous movies she was just following the flow of the plot, but at least she does the same thing in this movie. But at least she had some character in this movie that felt like, ooh, Allison is a character, and I liked her presence and not just wanting to look at Judy Greer, which is the mum. Yeah. So I was happy that she had more to do. She was more involved, even though she was sidelined for a boyfriend, which was like, this is all she is in this movie. But you know what? I liked the screen time we got with Allison.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I like how we see that she's like a nurse, or I'm not sure.
She's a nurse.
She's a nurse, and I like that. And I won't comment too much on it, because I probably I just have like a very similar opinion. I mean, I don't have too major, nothing too major to say that's fantastic about Allison, but I will say that I think that was good at least as well. I'm going to. Oh, okay. Oh, I could have talked about that earlier. I'll just see if I got another kind of smaller one. I thought when the kills happened in this movie, they were good. When they did happen,
right?
When I think they weren't amazing, but I think when they did happen, I think the sequences or like the settings around it was kind of cool. Yeah. Like I really liked, because this is where it differs, because like it worked. I don't know. So I think I'm stumbling over myself, aren't I? Sorry about that. I think the kills were cool. I liked the whole sequence in the junkyard. The kills specifically, besides the dad being shot in the head. I liked the the fire spray going into the guy's mouth, and I think that the radio host getting his tongue chopped off and it going over on the record was kind of funny. I personally liked the sequence when Michael and Corey were at the like house of there was the nurse lady, and there was the doctor who had whatever. I kind of thought that was
a good horror sequence.
I really liked that sequence, and I really liked the scarecrow mask, and I thought that was such a kind of spooky imagery of him just like at the window and just watching her be killed. And I think that was also a reference to 78, when he did the knife kill, and I thought the kills were really good. Not really good, but when they happened, they were effective, because they were very few and far between. But at the same time, so was 78. They were few and far between. And although 78 is very different from this, I can't really compare them. Yeah. But I thought when the kills did happen,
I didn't need a Terminator Michael for a good Halloween movie. But, I'm glad we got some kills.
Yeah. So I thought, when they happened, they were effective. And I didn't need them to be... I'm kind of glad it wasn't, every 10 minutes we have to contractually do a kill. Yeah. So I guess that was interesting. Any other?
Yeah, a few more. Town feels alive and sick and gross, and it adds to the film's mob mentality and hate towards Corey. I watched a someone else's review, and it opened my eyes to oh yeah, this is actually a good element of it. I feel like the Haddonfield town was even though I'm not the biggest fan of the band kids, the marching band kids, I thought the idea of them was really cool, even though the actual characters themselves I didn't enjoy. But I thought the idea of and how it was executed, of how he became this killer.
I'm listening.
How he became this killer, and how he not exactly how he became the killer, but how he got to this point in his life. Yeah, I really enjoyed, I'd say.
Yeah. So you enjoyed the kind of toxicity of the town
up till he got pushed over the bridge. I'll get into that later. But everything of his struggles in life, and I felt bad for him. And this was a point of the movie where Michael wasn't even introduced yet. So I was interested in this film, and I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you at points as well. Yeah. With that. Yeah. I mean, I thought.
Right. Yeah.
I thought some of the toxicity of town worked for me as well. I mean, I didn't even mind the bits where they were blaming kind of Laurie for some of this, because I know at first we're oh, why are you guys so harsh? Jesus Christ, I mean, what are you doing? But on the same time, there could be an argument made that Laurie in a way did provoke him, did want to fight him, did provoke him. Did I guess I think what she did wasn't bad.
I don't agree with what she said, but I understand why someone would say it.
Say that you provoked him or something.
Yeah,
I understand. I don't like the mom. I don't like Corey's mom. I mean,
no, not Corey's mom. I liked.
Do you mean with the
grocery after the grocery scene? I enjoyed the scene, but I don't feel like I could absolutely, if that person said that to me, I would destroy their face and go why they're wrong. But I understand why it affects Laurie so much.
Yeah, and I didn't. I also didn't. I felt like the toxicity of town also kind of worked with that idea that both. Kind of the symbolism of both Laurie and Corey are freaks, and that kind of worked well with that relationship.
Yeah. I would say the first act and half of the second act of this movie was pretty solid.
50% of this film, I think, I was hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And then
I really enjoyed
then I was just oh, this is too much of Corey, this is too much of that. But
my next one kind of still gets
sure, go on, go for it. Go for it.
Went on a while before.
That's fine.
Just kept fucking talking.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jeez.
Corey's life and why he gets all I wrote this recently. Mm-hmm. Corey's life and why he gets all angry and killery is nice. And I understand how you feel for him. I understand and feel for him and want people to understand and help him. But his home life and people around him aren't the best influence, and Allison with her trauma and Laurie's pushy attitude towards towards Allison, which creates Allison to be with Corey. Mm-hmm. Allison causes a good dynamic with their character trio. So the beginning of this movie when Laurie and Corey were having scenes together. Later on the film, Laurie loses screen time and like just has more screen time on her own, which I didn't love. But what I loved about Laurie in this movie was her connection with Corey, and I really wish this movie explored that more and not just Corey and Allison and Corey on his own, because I feel like he developed on his own too much, and I wanted to see more of his influence on other people and how he reacted to other people in town and not just the band kid and Allison. I really wanted to see more of like Corey and Laurie. Like I wanted to see them, because like Laurie, the whole movie talks about Corey to other people, and like, oh, I saw his eyes and I saw this stuff, and like after one scene of them talking, I was like, oh, I want to see more of that. I want to see like Laurie investigate this. I want to see Laurie like get involved in something here. I want to see Laurie like do stuff. And the movie didn't do that, but because I didn't know that at that point, in that point in the movie, that's like I'll grasp to any point of that I can, which is that one scene where I was just like, okay, this is what I want from this movie.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a positive of like, it gave me something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think I do agree with you that the relationship between the two was great, and I do kind of like connecting to that. I know I've kind of already spoken about this, but yeah, I do like how, you know, Laurie was playing this kind of mentor and did have good scenes with him. And I think what was also kind of interesting, I felt like Michael kind of paralleled that in a negative way, that like, yeah, like Laurie was trying to get the good out of him, trying to make him towards the good side, where Michael was showing him the bad, and there was a cool kind of like parallel between the two, which I like. I like the symbolism of that. Yeah, and I don't have like a lot of other positives that I have about this film, kind of in the mixed category, where like there's some really good parts of this, but then of course there's some negatives to it. So I'm just saying like maybe a final positive for me. If you want to keep on going, you can. But also, what I like about this film is that this doesn't mean like it's necessarily a major positive about this movie, but it did feel like a nice change of pace from the trilogy to me, because I felt like when we had, you know, 2 intense nights of Halloween, it was nice to have these kind of like daytime, more kind of a nuanced, closed-in kind of movie that was more. Yes, it was probably too much on like one character, Corey, but I liked how this was less of a big, big slasher thriller like Kills was, and this was more, you know, toned down. We got to see the town more. We get to. It really felt like a really nice change of pace, where you had this breathing room, and I would argue maybe to a point we had maybe too much breathing room, like we needed to do something interesting. But I kind of appreciate how also the kind of connecting to that, because this isn't too much of a major positive, but connecting to that, I liked how, you know, the writing wasn't so much like the writing wasn't good for this movie. The dialogue, that's what I'm talking about. The dialogue, better, that's what I'm talking about. Great. I mean, I don't think it was as bad. I don't think it was bad really.
It was better than
Kills, but I mean there was certain moments of dialogue that I did like. I mean the monologues that Laurie said felt less of a Shakespearean thing, like in Kills. I liked some of the stuff that she was writing about, because it worked, because she was writing a book, so she could be poetic with what she was writing. Yeah. So if she was being poetic, it made sense. It wasn't she just randomly saying it to Hawkins in a hospital. Yeah. I liked some writing moments of this of the movie. Like I felt like it was more nuanced, more toned down. There was generally nice comedic scenes with, you know, Corey and Laurie. I liked and this is gonna get some mix, because I know we're gonna have to talk about this, but I liked how Laurie was writing about how evil takes shape, and evil isn't just one person, and that kind of theme kind of connected to the town, where the town was kind of being, you know, toxic and evil, as you were saying, and maybe that could lead to, you know, Corey. But I like the concept how like evil takes shape, and that connects to the shape, and but I do want to expand that in more the mix and stuff. Do you have any final positives?
My final positive is like Laurie seeing Michael's influence and writing her book and trying to move on is nice, which is what I said before. That was like my last note I had, but we already talked about that before.
Okay, cool. So
do you want to start on do you want to do your negatives? For my negatives are probably more
longer. Okay, sure. I'll start off with some negatives. I guess the biggest negative to me was this movie was just, it really was just too much of Corey. It was. I don't hate the story that they're telling with Corey, and I know for you're thinking like, oh, it's definitely not good for a final film. Yeah. But I felt, I felt like to me like you could have pulled off the story if it just wasn't so much. Yeah. Like, because you are doing like themes of like, we don't want this Halloween thing to happen again. We don't want it to happen again. And that's kind of a cool thing for a final film, is that like trying to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because it could happen again. And I like that kind of concept, but the movie, it was a bit messy because it didn't like it had to do two things. It had to close the trilogy. Like the point of the movie was that you're closing the trilogy, you're ending Michael and Laurie's saga, but you're also now trying to tell this completely different story. And I don't hate this, but you went too much in it. It was too much Corey. Like it was, if this movie was 100 minutes, about 90 to 95 minutes is just Corey. And I just, it's too much. And it was exhausting.
If you're going to have Michael in the movie, don't have Michael not be in the movie.
I mean, I've listened to reviewers going like, oh, you might as well just not have Michael in the movie at all if you're going to go down the story.
Yeah.
Like, because some reviewers like were saying that. Michael. Some other people were saying that like the movie was okay. You had an interesting concept on itself. Yeah. Him just coming at the end kind of makes it all like what's the point?
Michael die in Kills. I would like.
Okay, that's an interesting take.
Michael,
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I said this to Leah before. Michael as a character has always fascinated me. I love the character of Michael. What's behind the eyes? The character of Michael. Like, even though he doesn't have a character, I just love Michael and the shape, and I love the idea of it. I'm not a massive slasher fan. I think a lot of slasher movies are boring, and I don't really connect to them. I connect to more supernatural horror. But this franchise I connected to more because of the stalking and what made Michael Myers so interesting and creative was this aspect of like his stalking. Why is he doing all this stuff? So this movie treating this, bringing back the franchise of Halloween and promising to explore this, and it not doing that to the extent that it promised, it just a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it's hard because it just does feel messy in a way. Like I do like the story, but yeah, I will agree it's just not the best for the final film, and it just felt. Like I genuinely like some of the concepts they're doing here. Like I genuinely do, and I want to do this because this is kind of a positive because we're gonna get into like complete negatives. But I know Louis doesn't agree with me, and by all means, if you want to talk about it, it's like whatever. But like Michael, I kind of liked to a degree his representation in this film. I liked how I know because you say you like Michael Myers as a character, not just the shape, and I think that's I don't disagree with that, but. I don't mind this kind of concept where, I don't mind this kind of more conceptual concept that it is kind of this shape that, the body of Michael is kind of like dying and he is kind of old in this movie. He shouldn't be doing all the stuff he's done in Kills. I mean, geez. But I like the concept. I kind of do like the concept that he's like this old kind of like crypt monster that needs to bring the shape into something else for it to live on, for this like Halloween massacres to live on or whatever like that. And I don't hate the concept of that he's kind of also being rejuvenated by what Corey is doing. And I know you probably disagree. And if you want to,
but why is this happening?
Why is this happening?
My question is, why is it now Michael is suddenly on the verge of death, even though it is established in the previous movie he can survive practically anything? And at the end of Kills, he gets stabbed in the neck, and he gets up and then starts killing everyone. And this movie establishes that when he kills, he transcends. So he becomes something else. He gets stronger. He lives from it. So you'd think all of the injuries he received, he would heal. I don't know. This movie establishes he heals, and like from that. So why is he so... Like, why is he like this monster in this movie 4 years later when the old man has established... The old man has, like, the hobo, he was like, Michael has been bringing people in here for 4 years. Why did you survive? So that's establishing he's been killing... Like, there's missing posters throughout this movie that I saw. And I was like, okay, so he's been killing people throughout these 4 years. So why is he still at a point where he can't leave? So in the other movies, Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, he's walking everywhere. He's been shot, stabbed, fingers blown off. He's walking around like no one's business. So why now is it now developed and understood that Michael is now looking for someone else, or is he hiding? It just doesn't feel like a proper escalation of where he was before. And I'd say it doesn't really make sense of like, why is he cowering when Corey brings in this police officer? Why is he like falling over like wah, wah?
Yeah.
He could lift up Corey with one hand so to give him some evil and corrupt Corey. But why in this point of this movie have that there and establish this? And I would say I'd love the idea of Michael being kind of like a bit different and kind of more monsterish. Keep it in the shadows, I think. I think have him like not barely even show up because he's so disfigured and he's so like injured from what is happening, and maybe even establish that in a flashback at the beginning of this movie that like the kid that he's just not getting the same regeneration or whatever from this, so he needs to pass it on. Establish that so when he is seen, it makes sense. Or have Michael more in the shadows and more of like an ever-present being in this movie or in the sewers where Corey is. So it makes more sense for the character to be like that and not like have been killing people for all these years and then suddenly a police officer comes in and he's like,
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I think when I say I like this concept, it really is I like this concept in a vacuum. I totally agree that like, yeah, it doesn't completely make sense. Like, he wouldn't, like, he's had 40 years, and I mean, I will agree that the reason why he's probably a kind of a deformed monster, is he had so much done to him and kills, like stabbed multiple times, beat up, whatever like that. And for me, the reason
he kills the
I know, and he is kind of rejuvenating.
He kills the daughter. He looks fine there.
The daughter
at the very end of the movie, he kills the daughter.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems completely fine then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. So. I totally agree. This doesn't logically make sense, but in a vacuum, like if this was just a sequel to 78, for example,
100%.
And this is the ending you're going to give the characters. I like the concept that he is this kind of deformed being that needs to spread on the shape, and I like that in a vacuum. Like I like that he's kind of hidden, and I like how Laurie, for example, I like how Laurie is in a vacuum. I like how Michael is in a vacuum, and I think if this was just a direct sequel to 78, and we had this as kind of the ending of Michael Myers, like he's this kind of shape, that's really cool. But yes, in this movie, it doesn't make sense completely. Yeah. And I don't completely hate it because I always try to look into the good things, but I will agree that logically, I guess, with what you've established with the other two films, it just doesn't fully work. Yeah. But anyway, Louis, go with another negative.
I would say I kind of brought to talk about this before. Why is Laurie just being all okay when she spent the last 40 years preparing for Michael and doing all of the 2018 stuff, but when he's officially out there and everyone knows about him and she is all chill and trying to move on even though Michael is out there and makes it a weird transition from kills to ends? In a vacuum, love it. In a vacuum, I love Laurie as this new developed character, and she's okay, she's all cool. But as a trilogy, I can't distance myself from, I can't suspend my disbelief in that fact.
I mean, I guess I've come to my own kind of conclusions.
In Kills, the mob doesn't work. In Kills, Laurie's just out there going like that, like in the hospital, like she's like getting like ready, like she's her daughter has just been killed by Michael Myers. Well, she doesn't know yet.
She doesn't know,
but she will know that very soon, probably in the next hour, and she gets this thing, and then she like, I don't feel like the character that has been developed in these previous movies would be like, man, Michael's still out there. Well, it's Halloween. Let's celebrate Halloween. Do you have a costume? Let's make pumpkin pie. And be completely okay and start writing a book. And when she's like, I see Michael's influence in Corey, wouldn't some thought be like, I wonder if Michael's still around? She doesn't mention Michael. I think that's
active.
Alive.
But I think that's an active choice by her character. Like I think she just needs to move on because she's already lost so much. The whole town has lost so much.
Still out there.
Yes, I understand that, but I feel like the whole town, as we saw throughout the movie, is constantly blaming her for things as well. Like she's getting complete hatred for this town that I'm sure that she's already suffered so much, and this town is still hating her for it that she would be like, "Fuck, I just gotta forgive. Like I've just gotta because this just isn't working, and this hasn't worked. I saw what's happened with what I did in 2018. This shit isn't. Of course, that you can always say that. But I disagree with you on this concept. I'm not saying it's wrong, obviously, because I think it is definitely a valid point, and I'm probably wrong here. But I do like this character progression because I feel like if this whole town is hating on me, and I saw what's happened. I've already lost so much. I think it's better just to forgive and forget, because it has been 3 years or 4 years, and I know it's not her 2018 self, but I'm okay with that, because like I
Vacuum.
just can't, not in a vacuum, like
For me, it's in a vacuum.
sure,
yeah.
but I'm like, all right, that does feel like a decent progression, because I can't get that same Laurie, because if I get the same 2018 Laurie and same one in Kills, I will be exhausted. And I like how she's like, I'm going to choose, love and forgiveness instead of just hatred, because I saw what road it took me down. This whole town is hating on me. I don't agree that the whole town should hate on her, but the whole town in this movie that we've seen, that we saw, that the whole town blames her. I mean, she has a granddaughter that she has to support. She's got to support Lindsay as well, and she probably doesn't want this trauma and anger to continue. She probably just wants. She's probably acting new just for the sake of her granddaughter, just so she can have a normal life. Mm-hmm. Because if she keeps on going down the road of 2018, where both her parents were killed, like not Laurie, but like Allison's both her parents were killed, it's probably the best thing to do is to try to not take her down down a worse route. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if she said this in the movie, if we got to the movie, you probably would love that.
That's what I'm about to say.
But for me, I guess you could argue that I'm just making excuses, but to me, I felt like that's okay. Like I felt like I kind of myself got that. Like I don't need. I'm not saying this probably should have been explained, but I don't even think it needed for me. Like, I think I got that, and I didn't need this to be a whole thing that, like, I'm going to stop doing it because I care. I mean, yeah, she probably could say that. But I like this character progression because I couldn't do with another 2018 Laurie. And I'm okay that they didn't have to do a huge, big explanation. I'm good with this Laurie, and I like this Laurie.
For me, all they had to do is say a few lines of dialogue. Just give me a reason. Give me, like, why she never even thinks about Michael right now, even though they're like,
I need to watch the movie again. Maybe she does say it. I mean, we've only seen it once, like weeks ago.
Just give me something more, and then I'll be like, okay, I can understand like this. And sure, you saying that now, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But just like the end of Kills, it's just such a contrast.
I guess, I mean, she didn't do. I mean, when I looked at the end of Kills, the most we get of her is just a shot of her looking away. Like, I don't see her.
She's seeing all the chaos that Michael brings. And then
I guess.
Michael's still out there. And you know what? I want this to be Laurie in this movie. Like, I don't want killer kick-ass Laurie in the third movie in a row. This new Laurie is really good, and I enjoy it. But just like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking meta. You know, like, well, this doesn't really make sense to me. But like, it's not my main aggro moment of this movie. It's just what we've been talking about.
Okay. Well, it's cool. We think differently about it.
But with that, I'll say...
Yeah, please go for another one.
Laurie's story doesn't exactly go anywhere until the very end of the movie, or to bring exposition to Corey. So, like, what I mean by that is talk to other people to give more lore to Corey, like talking to the father in the bar.
Oh, so she didn't have much of a story besides...
In her own, except for developing Corey's, like, thing. And I'm just like... And that doesn't... And like, her only story she had on her own was...
Writing a book,
and also, like, two interactions with the old flame.
Hawkins.
Yeah. And, like, exposition to the Corey stuff, making her a side character in her own movie, which for a female powerful lead, and the draw of this franchise having those kick-ass female girls... final girls being sidelined for Corey would be interesting if they didn't completely negate story development for Laurie outside some scenes with Corey and facing some backlash of Michael victims. Feels like wasted plot with Michael and with Corey and Laurie needing more scenes together, like I talked about before, to make that new rivalry of evil in her life and not just switched to Michael at the end. Okay. So like having the new face of evil be Corey, I'm completely up with that. You know, like, treat Michael better, you know, like, do what I said before with Michael, and have Corey and Laurie have more scenes together where their rivalry and their opinions and their different ideologies clash. Because they're in a vacuum, this whole movie, that when they do come together at the very end, it's like all their development had on their own, so when they come together, there was no build-up or story to this moment. Corey just fucking shows up. And again, still have no idea how Laurie knows Corey's going to show up, how knows he's killing people, how to know to pretend to kill herself and then to go, you thought I was going to kill myself, bitch, and shoot Corey. That doesn't make sense, but that's a clear fault in the scripting of the movie. But like, I just wish Corey and Laurie had more scenes together to develop them, and like that would bring Laurie so much more character development and so much more like trying to bring her back into this life, but she just wants to move on. And like she's seeing victims of Michael, and she's seeing like this could become of Corey. That could be so good and give more stakes to Laurie, and not just sit in a bar and talk to Corey's babysitter dad. And then that's her whole plot in that point, and have one scene with them where Allison established a tension between Allison and Laurie, and at the very end of the movie where Corey kills himself. There's just not enough time for what this movie is doing to give me a satisfying rivalry between these two characters that are meant to be Laurie fighting the embodiment of evil. Because if Michael's the embodiment of evil, Laurie is trying to fight and establish that evil can be anything. So if that is the case, Laurie needs to know this evil to fight it, but she doesn't because they're in a vacuum the whole time.
Okay.
So this could have just even been done in the last second, just before the third act, just before he goes on his killing Michael spree. Like more scenes around that point where Laurie has seen the impact that Michael's gotten with the surviving victim, after the scenes with Allison after she comes back from the rave. You know, like after that, like just get more establishing scenes from that, and I feel like it would have been perfect, but it just didn't go in that direction.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I can't argue too much against that. I don't know. I mean, I felt like, I guess there could have been more scenes with Laurie and Corey.
Yeah.
I feel like the scenes that we did have them was pretty strong, in my opinion. Move on to a negative of mine. Yeah. Okay. Okay, there's a major one that maybe we might need to save to the end, which is just the ending of the film. Do you want to say that later?
Sure.
Or, yeah. Should we just move to it? Should we just, because this is pretty...
Yeah.
And if we have more ones, we can talk afterwards. Let's just talk about this. The ending of the film,
right? The
Michael and Laurie fight, felt extremely rushed and unearned. I don't think there's one review. I mean, there's some people who may love this film, but I think there's a wide consensus that the ending just
sucked.
Just happened.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it felt like an obligatory ending. Yeah. It didn't feel really that. I mean, it just felt like it happened. I mean, we didn't even have like a major scene where like Laurie was like, "Oh my god, Michael is back!" Like,
yeah, she didn't even realize Michael was even.
She was just like, "Oh yeah, Michael's in this house. All right, let's fight." Yeah. And it just felt like, wow,
and
wow.
And the whole like Corey kills himself, and then Allison misunderstands the situation.
That's such a weird
and leaves.
thing.
And then Laurie's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna start crying." Drops the knife and doesn't go after Allison. Sits down. Allison leaves, and then 5 seconds later, realizing she was wrong or that the thing is burning down. So she's like, "Oh, okay." She comes back, helps Laurie in the fight, and the fight is done.
Yeah, it just felt so weird with this movie.
If this wasn't even in the movie, I would say Michael. It was like having Michael as he was in the movie was fine.
Like literally, if you just had like Michael as the deformed being who did transfer the shape to Corey, and that final battle was maybe Corey and Laurie.
Yeah.
Cool. That would have been probably better to me.
Cool.
Because I know we want it to be a Laurie and Michael fight, but you build up that Corey is the new shape.
Stick with
it. Make them have the final fight with the mask on. Do the same. I mean, it's not great how this movie was mismarketed, but fine. Fucking have that same scene where we still feel like that's Michael Myers. And I know it's still going to suck because you're like, why are you doing this? We don't want to, a Friday 5. Why are you doing this? But if you're going to go down that route, have the route that you go down.
It just feels like it went down the road and just went, and it just
got
cold feet.
I mean, Michael was hardly important in this movie. So when they just come and fight, it didn't feel amazing. It makes Corey's
plot line feel useless. It makes it feel like, oh, Corey was just used to get Michael to this point. Yeah. It makes Corey... It was like, oh, we don't really have a plot for Michael in this movie. Let's just have Corey be this thing. And then Michael shows up at the end.
And listen, I feel like they could do elements of this film, like they could still have the main basis of this film that like we're gonna have Corey, die somewhere in this film, and then we're gonna have the big, final section with Michael and Laurie. That could work, but you need to not make it like in the final 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
You could literally go, let's say at the end of the second act, start of the third act, maybe, you know, Corey maybe gets too enthusiastic with the killings.
Yeah.
Maybe is killed by, I don't know, by himself, but something. And then and maybe the whole town realizes like, oh my God, Michael has done this.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge set piece at the end. You got to make it a set piece. You can't just make it a kitchen with this big set piece where Laurie's like, you can't keep on spreading this evil. And there's this huge fight between Michael and Laurie. It needed to be longer. It can't just be, I don't know how long it was, but 5-10 minutes maybe.
Yeah, not even.
And it, like, you can't do that because it felt tacked on and unearned. And it just didn't feel like this. It wasn't what the movie was about. I mean, you can't, I don't know. It just felt wrong and didn't feel good. And then how he even died. Yeah. How he died just felt so kind of anticlimactic. Climactic. I can't pronounce it. Don't get me wrong. The 5-10 minute fight they had was tense. I think it was like it was intense. It was like because I didn't know who was gonna live or who was gonna die. Yeah. It was intense, but that's just because it's the final movie. Yeah. Like you're gonna feel tension. And I will say something. The fighting choreography felt brutal. Felt kind of cool. Yeah. That was nice. But still, that being the final
point of your
battle
movie.
Wasn't good.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. And and then how he died when they, you know, took out the mask and slit his wrists kind of felt weird to me. Yeah. I mean, I didn't completely hate it, but I guess because it was leading to him being shoved.
Also, throw in the meat grinder, kind of funny.
Meat grinder. I guess so. I mean, do we want to get to that bit now, or do you want to just say some things before this?
Before we run out of battery, I'll say, I just feel I don't like how it makes me question the whole thing with, like, what is the evil? Is Michael evil? Is, was Michael okay before this, and then he was corrupted by this evil? Was Michael always this evil? Was he always from a kid? Did it start with him? Was it an external force? Is it the same evil that's going to Corey, or is it forming into his own? Like, I just feel like it just doesn't explore of like what even is this evil, because it's like this whole thing of like spreading to someone else because he's dying. So like, did Michael always have this? Did he become this? Was this something gifted to him after him killing? Was it like a ritual?
One thing,
was he when he was a kid? Did he start hearing voices and then want to kill? Did he always not talk? Like, it just makes me question everything about
what I will say as well, because this is hard. Like, even if they gave an answer, people would probably be even more pissed. People would be like, "Why are you trying to?" Because people hate the Rob Zombie films for trying to give Michael an answer of why he became what he was. And I felt like you couldn't really give an answer. And to me, I'm kind of fine, and I don't fully agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Like, I totally agree that you probably, if you're gonna make this big deal about something, go for it.
So what I mean by that is, like, it just makes me question. It makes me question Michael's, like, what is he doing?
Yeah, because if like Corey can become a Michael, then what is?
Yeah, like, why can anyone like it just,
I guess what I see is like he is the embodiment of evil, and evil can go into
spread.
Anyone, and that's what I see.
Like, because of the humanity that's brought in from the first movie that he was a little kid, it just makes me question all of Halloween and all of his character. That like it's just not talked about in this movie. That I was just like, I don't want it to be talked about. Like, I don't want it. I don't like it. But like, if you're gonna have it, like, I need something to attach myself to, because it feels like a MacGuffin. It feels like, when this character become evil, Michael looks in his eyes and he gets corrupted. What does that even mean? Is it like something he wasn't gonna start killing before, but now this Michael thing has made him?
I guess. I mean, that hasn't.
Then how Corey becomes this edgelord? Why I'm wearing this? I fucking hate edgelord Corey. I thought his dialogue was cheesy, and it felt like I was watching Twilight. And
excuse, you can't say that. No,
I felt like I was watching like this like weird romance between them, and the drift between Laurie and Allison felt like completely fabricated and like not like Allison in a character.
Yeah,
and I knew she was struggling, but I feel like I wanted to see that more. And then like freaking like I'm wearing this ironically, but like cool boy motorbike Corey just makes me like, I just feel like in our society that's funny, and I kind of like, it's kind of like, I don't like the edgelord kind of look to it.
I mean,
and knowing that that's the same guy under the mask, I'm like, huh.
I don't completely agree. Like, I feel like he's more kind of coming to his own, and he's now feeling like he has power, and he isn't going to be, and you feel that as well, probably. But jacket because
the cool guy jacket, the motorbike.
I don't see that as a huge
haircut,
negative.
The haircut comes down. He doesn't have glasses
it's
anymore.
just to show visually that he's progressing into his own. I feel, and I know that you may find that cheesy, but to me, I didn't really find that too bad.
Too much.
To me, I didn't find that too much. But if you did that, that's okay. But I felt like he was just coming to his own, and he felt like he was, no longer some freak that people can tell what to do. He's kind of coming to. He's kind of going like, yeah, maybe I am the freak, and I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Also, just a little quick in that. I didn't like the band members. I thought, why would, if it was kind of just the plot pushing Corey and not them actual as characters. I don't know.
I mean, I didn't expect much from that though.
No, I didn't I don't need them to be characters. I just don't think that people would be like, hey, you murdered a kid, huh? And start pushing him around. I don't feel like people would do that.
I guess, but they just felt
it's a very small point.
They just felt like Stephen King bullies to me.
Yeah.
So, but connecting. I
have so much that I could talk about and so many points and going in depth, but I won't do that because.
Yeah, we probably don't want this to go for too long. But I will also just say one thing about the ending because we're still on the topic of the ending. With the grinder thing, not grinder. with the when he I just want to continue about why I'm also kind of disappointed with that final kind of the procession scene that it's kind of called, where everyone's come together to the kind of the garage. It felt there's elements I liked about it, how the whole of Haddonfield's there and they're willing to let him die, but it did feel rushed. It just felt like it quickly happened.
They tie Michael on top of the police and drag him around like a
and then Lindsay wasn't even there. Which was crazy. Lindsay was hardly in this movie. Yeah. And she should have at least been there for that one scene. You could say that, she probably was filming Beverly Hills because she does Housewives of Beverly Hills.
This movie treats legacy characters.
But wouldn't she, if you were to get her to be filmed in one scene, that would be the scene to have her in.
Yeah.
Because she does, my swearing, fuck all for the rest of the film. Yeah. Besides go to Allison going
the
death is going to happen. But
yeah,
it's just at least have her for that scene. And what I also was annoyed is that you might as well have Michael wearing the mask. If this mask there's one theme, the only one theme I've really seen connect throughout these three films is that the mask has power.
Yeah.
It's in 2018 they were saying, what does this mask do to you, Michael? Yeah. And if you're gonna go down that route, then destroy the mask. Don't just leave it at your house. Why would you want the mask at your house?
Yeah, Corey.
It would be so cool. I would have enjoyed it much more if Laurie, when he's about to be chucked into the grinder, holds up the mask and sees it as a symbol of evil because it's infected Corey, it's infected Michael.
And she wears it and she puts it on.
And she jumps in. And but it would have been more symbolic if she picks it up while Michael is dying and throws it in, because it is a symbol within this movie. You've established that Michael Myers mask is kind of this evil shape. It's kind of connected to that. Then destroy that, and that would have been it wouldn't have fixed the film. But it would have been much cooler. Much cooler, I think.
I agree.
The final negatives you do.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't need to talk about I feel like what basic things I wanted to talk about, I talked about. And you should be honest. I'm kind of tired on being so negative on this movie. Yeah. I feel like anything positive we can bring out of it, I'm glad we did. So I know my negatives, and I can piss on this movie as much as I can, and I will, and I do. I have a whole notes that are pages long of all the
check out his blog. He'll talk about
all this specific stuff that I hated about this movie, and I did get into some of them, but I don't want to make this too long. And I just feel like I want this more to be we're looking at the positives of what this movie
and is. I'm sure in a couple...
everyone's talking about the negatives.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure in a couple of years' time, probably not, but I might grow to be okay with this movie in a vacuum. But we have to acknowledge that this is the end of the trilogy, the end to the franchise. Yeah. And it just, doesn't work, which is a shame. And there are parts that I genuinely love, but this isn't right for this film. It isn't right for this trilogy. And it sucks because of that. And it just sucks. Not the film, but just the whole experience. Blame me. I think it's my fault.
I think it's your fault.
Yeah, but there's still elements I like, still elements I don't. But anyway, I think we're going to end our review there. We are now going to rate this mother flipper.
Switch camera angles.
We can probably keep it the same, I think. I mean,
cool.
Do you think we should switch?
No, we can keep
it. I mean,
last
review we had the same. We had these.
Yeah, let's just stay and let's not run out of battery.
All right, just going to quickly just say what the rating system is. We have at the very bottom,
Shit
shit show.
show.
This movie is dog shit. There's nothing really redeemable about this movie. It's just horrible.
Awful.
It's awful. Never want to watch that thing again. I can't believe I even finished watching it. Shit show, really bad.
Yeah.
Above that is Borsnor, Get Out the
Door.
Door. This is just a bad movie. Like a bad horror movie. It's just
boring.
It may have some stuff that could be
Yawn.
appealing to some audiences, but it's just
There's nothing like, if we are so angry at a movie, that's not boring. That's not Borsnor, Get Out the Door.
Yeah.
That's something else. This is like,
like this
Okay.
is it's like there was nothing here to ever make me like it, really. I mean, I can like some stuff, but like I'm not. I mean, it's just bad. There's I'm not gonna feel really emotional about it because it's just bad.
Yeah.
Then above that is disappointment.
Book appointment for
Book appointment is for disappointment. So this is a movie that has elements that could work. It seems to be attempting to be a movie, but it either just doesn't work, or it just doesn't work for us, or this could have been something great, but it just isn't, and it's just so horrible. And not horrible, but like
it's just painful that it
painful.
wasn't.
Like this still, for some people, could totally work, but for us, it just doesn't, and it's a disappointment. And then above that is, hey, it's fun. This is a movie that, like,
it's a good old time.
it's not perfect,
Chuck it
but
on,
we
watch it.
enjoyed it, and it's definitely worth a watch. And maybe not worth a watch, but it's just fun. I mean,
Worth our
we
time.
didn't maybe we didn't expect much. Maybe we did expect much, but it was just like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just a decent horror movie. Above that is Fantastically
Fantastically
Splendid, which is a horror movie that we just think is great, really good, worth your time, see in the cinemas. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's definitely something cool and
praise.
original that you should definitely go and see. Yeah. Then above that is at the very top, masterpiece and classic, amazing. Go
Perfect.
and watch it 3 times. And
3 times in a row.
3 times in a row. Watch it at a marathon. It's really great.
Watch it at your uncle's
It's
house.
new and original, or if it's even not new and original, it's doing something original with something that is old. But it's fantastic. It's really worth your time. It's going to be a classic for years to come. Now, I think my rating for this movie is not a surprise at all.
Book a point for disappointment.
Big appointment for disappointment. I think because we've
for
said
as much as we love some points of this movie, overall, I left the theater disappointed.
The one word to describe it is disappointment.
Disappointing.
Because it's not, it just wasn't a fitting end to the series.
In the trilogy.
No trilogy.
Silver Shamrock.
As we said, there's so many things in vacuum that work.
Yeah.
That could work. Could
Vacuum.
have been really amazing, but it just, if you'd add it all together into one movie, does it work? No. So it's a disappointment for us. It's been I don't think have we given this rating to something? I don't think so.
We've given Borsnor.
We've given, this is the first.
I've given disappointment to Hellraiser.
Hellraiser. Oh, really?
Remember?
Well, I don't.
I would change my review to Hey, it's fun, but like.
No, I mean, sure, give it a
Together
disappointment.
Hellraiser.
I mean, that's fine. But yeah, so it just, it's sad.
Sad.
But now we're gonna
Sad
change
time.
our camera angles because we got our outro to do. So check it out.
Ah!
Whoa.
Whoa.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
All right, so we're now at the end of the review. Thank you so much for staying
you so
along
much
for
for
it.
sticking.
It must have been very long, this one. But basically, before we say goodbye, we just got to answer last week's trivia question. Now, we were reviewing Monster House.
You were.
Fantastic movie. And we asked you at the very end, what is the occupation of DJ, the main kid's parents?
Right.
We gave you multiple options, right? We said teachers, we said, don't know the other ones. Other things. But the answer was that they will shock you. They are dentists.
They're in fact dentists.
They're both dentists.
They're dentists.
How cool is that?
Wow. They
Amazing.
probably met at a dentist convention.
Oh,
What a
romantic.
meet you. Let's make a prequel about them.
yeah. That'd be nice.
Mr. Walter and
Yeah.
Mrs. Walter.
Mrs.
Walter.
White teeth.
Oh
whitening.
my
The
God.
possibilities for whitening teeth products.
Wow.
Walter White teeth product. Yeah. Anyway. Fantastic. But now we're going to ask you a trivia question for this week.
Bang bang.
That we will answer in our, I guess, we'll have another episode coming out really soon, I think on Halloween, which is going to be our franchise ranking, which is really cool. But we'll give you the answer to the question we're going to ask you now.
What is it, Leo?
It's going to be
What is it, Leo?
in Halloween Kills.
Uh-huh.
Okay. When Michael enters that house where the couple are, right? You know, like
Right.
You know what spoilers. You know what Halloween spoilers. I mean, you should have seen Halloween Kills if we're reviewing ends. So anyway, when the guy comes in, when Myers comes in, stabs forgot her name, the old woman in the neck, and she's like lying down in the ground. Not the ground, on the side.
Uh-huh.
How many knives or knife stabs or just knives have been stabbed in her husband's back that you can see? How many knives?
How many knives?
How many stabs? How many knives?
How many stabs? How many knives?
That's like 2 questions. But how many knives
How
are
many knives?
left? How many knives does it take for Michael to go, yeah, oh, that's a good knife, and carry on with this fight? So how many knives are stabbed into that guy, into her husband's back?
Doesn't he take one out to keep it?
I think
Does
so.
that count
I think he
as one
stabs
stab?
one. No,
So
just how many knives?
Are in,
How many knives does it take for him to find his knife?
So that are in his back.
How many?
At
How
the
many
end- at the end of the
stabs?
shot.
How many knives?
Stabs and knives are different things. Knives. Let's do how many knives are in his back at the end of the
At the end of the scene,
At the end of the scene.
not including the one that Michael takes to go. How many knives?
How many knives?
Answer it in the comments. Please answer in the comments, and we will get to you.
We'll get to you.
With the next video, which is going to be a Halloween franchise ranking.
Look at this
So,
guy.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, and you'll see where ends is in that ranking. But until then, happy Halloween, happy spooky season.
Happy spooky season.
Go trick-or-treating if
Go
you're
Tigers.
a child.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a child, still do it.
Still do it.
Screw the children.
Screw them.
You deserve some treats.
Get some lollies.
Have a good one.
Bye.
And... Ooh.
Oh.